Will the Supreme Court release its final decision in Downs versus Jackson Women's Health on Monday? Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is another declaration of truth from your host, Terry A. Hurlbut. In 3 parts, we're going to look carefully at the draft decision a draft opinion by Justice Samuel A. Alito in the Dobbs case. In part 1, we looked at how we got here, as Justice Alito lays it out. In part 2, we begin with how Alito takes the Roe and Casey cases apart and shows how they failed to establish a constitutional right to abortion. Part 3 will finish with a discussion of how the court nearly destroyed its reputation in trying to save it, and how it must uphold its decision now or get a real reputation for caving that it will never live down. Before I begin, I want to shout out to the sponsor of this channel, which is Conservative News and Views, link in the description. And be sure to check out the awesome CNAV Store. Scroll down near the bottom for that link. Lots of good merchandise there, including this t-shirt that says Rhino Hunting. While I'm at it, I'll shout out to another sponsor, BitNext. This is your replacement for Zoom, Slack, the Google G Suite, Microsoft Office 365, Dropbox, WeTransfer, and Chili Piper, among others. Unlike any of them, BitNext protects your content and conversations so well that even the administrators can't see it. So this is your channel for secure comms, conferencing, cloud storage, and file sharing. Best of all, everything is back-end, so you don't even need client software. If you have a browser, you can use BitNext. Follow the link and give them a try. 28 days free of charge. You can't beat that with a stick. All right, ladies and gentlemen, our constitutional law class will now come back to order. Remember that I have a link in the description to the Alito Draft report, so you can follow along, but be careful not to leave this video as you follow that link. In that opinion, Alito proceeded to tear the Roe case apart. As he notes, the Constitution and its amendments never say a woman may have an abortion. The Roe court tried to find a right to abortion in the 9th Amendment, abortion as a right that people retain, the 1st, 4th, and 5th Amendments, security of the person and all that, or the 14th Amendment, the Due Process Clause that protects life, liberty, and property. An amicus brief tried to find that the Equal Protection Clause protects abortion as something only a woman would seek, but Alito points out that the court has already ruled against that construction of that clause. So, back to the arguments the Roe court made. The 14th Amendment protects 2 kinds of rights. Those being rights that one can find in the first 8 amendments and or have deep roots in American history and tradition and are necessary to the American system of ordered liberty. The right to keep and bear arms satisfies both counts, and so does the prohibition of excessive fines. But abortion appears nowhere in those 8 amendments. And as for rooting in history and tradition, Alito cites traditions of common law and American state statute forbidding abortion. Lawyers will recognize the names of the great common law scholars. Blackstone, Koch, Hale, all say that abortion, especially after the baby starts moving, is a crime. Most tellingly, he says this, and I quote, "Until the latter part of the 20th century, there was no support in American law for a constitutional right to obtain an abortion. Zero. None." Unquote Alito. Furthermore, the only reason to use quickening as a threshold was that doctors originally couldn't even tell that a woman was pregnant. Now that we can easily tell, quickening must fall by the wayside, which it did in the 19th century. By 1868, all states made abortion criminal. Alito scolds respondents and their friends of the court for 1, ignoring this history, and then 2, saying that history doesn't matter. One friend of the court tries to say that legislatures, in criminalizing abortion, did not want Catholic immigrants to outbreed Protestant natives. Catholics wouldn't get abortions, this theory ran, so the law mustn't let Protestants do it either. To that, Alito says, and here I paraphrase, "If that's the best you've got, that shows that the Roe and Casey courts had nothing to support their decisions." End of paraphrase. Besides, that friend of the court has statements from supporters of those laws, but not from actual lawmakers. But is abortion central to the very notion of liberty? The Casey Court did hold, and again I quote, "At the heart of liberty is the right to define one's own concept of existence, of meaning, of the universe, and of the mystery of human life." Unquote. Alito rightly points out that you can think and say what you wish about these things, but you may not always act on your thoughts or feelings. That's why, incidentally, the law has treated harshly those who, from time to time, have bombed abortion mills, killed their doctors or other staff in or out of the places of practice, or both. That is also why we do not, so far, recognize the radical Muslim concept of jihad as justifying murder or treason. Ordered liberty sets bounds between competing interests. In simpler terms, your right to swing your fists ends at the tip of my nose. Finally, Alito addresses squarely those who tried to find support for Roe and Casey in other cases recognizing rights to personal decisions. The Solicitor General cited cases like Loving versus Virginia, Griswold versus Connecticut, and so on. That officer also cited cases decided after the Casey decision, but we know that no case can rely on cases decided in its future. Justices of the Supreme Court are not time travelers. Alito points out this important difference. Abortion destroys life. Miscegenation does not destroy life. Contraception might stop life from starting, but does not destroy life. Abortion does. Bear this in mind when, in Part 3, we tackle head-on that annoying concept called stare decisis and how it can't save the Roe precedent. Links to the description of the article, to the Alito Draft, to many videos I have already recorded on this subject, and to conservative news and views. I have another link to the awesome online store and to BitNext, as I mentioned. And if you like what you've heard, you can like this video and subscribe to this channel. This is Terry A. Hurlbut delivering another declaration of truth and reminding you to let the truth set you free.